Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the late start. Had to make sure I got tonight's homework up before I started. So here we are. Let's get started. All right, chapter 2. The three friends continued to work their way through the maze. From time to time, Sam peeked over the top of the hedges to help guide them. They hit several more dead ends and had to double back and try different routes. All the time, the top of the enormous Tusk temple was visible. Little by little, they seemed to be getting closer to it. Will looked up at the bright infinity symbol on the temple roof. He found himself thinking about his grandma. Looking around at the weird and wonderful plant life, Will thought about how much his grandma Rivers would love these gardens. It was just her sort of place, full of magic, mystery, and statues of impossible animals. He wondered where Grandma Rivers had disappeared to on his birthday, the day he had entered the night zoo. Wherever you are, Grandma, I really wish you were here right now, he said under his breath. He missed her strange stories and wise advice. As they trudged along the path, Will noticed other reminders of home. There was a bush that was the same shape as the wonky birthday cake his brother Charlie had made him. There was a flower that looked like the orb his grandma had given to him as a present before she disappeared. And there was even hanging baskets filled with plants that looked like the brass bell that hung outside Grandma Rivers' shed. He reached out and touched one gently. It swayed on its stem and tinkled just like his grandma's bell. They turned a corner and Will's eyes lit up. "At last!" exclaimed Rhea. Just ahead, the tall hedges on either side of them came to an end. They had found an exit to the maze. Two enormous tusks stood like sentries guarding the exit. Will dashed forward and stroked the shimmering stone. "We're coming, Maji," he said. The sight in front of them was breathtaking. A line of stone tusks snaked across a wide clearing in moon-drenched trees. Will's eyes followed the path of the tusks all the way up to the foot of the magnificent Tusk temple. "Wow," said Rhea. "Now that's impressive, right?" Will could only nod in agreement. He couldn't explain it, but he suddenly felt as if he were closer to home than at any other time in the night zoo. It was a comforting feeling. He gave Rhea a wide smile. "Uh-oh," said Sam suddenly. He was frozen to the spot, frowning. "What's up?" said Will, still grinning. "Is it one of your ice cream cone alerts?" said Rhea playfully. Sam stuck the tip of his tongue out at her. "No, but it is an ossicone alert," he said. "Whoa, now they're really jangling." "There's something wrong, Will. I don't like this at all." Will looked at the path of tusks leading up to the temple. The leaves on the trees rustled gently in the night air. Apart from that, nothing was stirring under the peaceful moonlight. For a moment, he thought Sam's spying instincts were letting him down for once. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Will spotted something amongst a group of trees. There was something different about the light. The brilliant silvery moonlight had been replaced by a dull red glow. Rhea had spotted it too. "What's that? Maybe someone's lit a fire," she said. Sam was flicking his head about as if he were trying to shake off an angry wasp. "Ow, that actually hurts," he complained. "My ossicones are really throbbing. Something big is coming, Will. Something big and bad." Will peered through the trees at the red glow. It was increasing in strength. It was no fire, he realized. He gulped. He knew that crimson light all too well by now. Voids, he said, and lots of them. Clicker, clacker, clicker, clacker. Quick, get out of sight, said Will quietly. He hugged himself in tight next to the stone tusk. Rhea dashed behind the other one. Sam, hide, whispered Will. Where? Asked Sam in confusion, looking around for something big enough to hide behind. No, turn invisible, Will urged. Quick! Oh yeah, good idea, replied Sam sheepishly. He closed his eyes. There was a brief, bright flash, and suddenly the young giraffe disappeared. The night air was filled with the clanking of metal limbs and the gnashing of razor-sharp fangs. The voids appeared between the trees. A long column of the ugly robot spiders was approaching the clearing. Their red eyes pulsed in unison as they marched in pairs. Will watched as the lead void reached one of the stone tusks. Clicker, clacker, clicker, clacker. The void stopped, then squirted thick gray tar from its fangs all over the tusk. A second void scuttled forward and rammed the tusk with its metal head. The stone tusk cracked. The void rammed it again, and this time it was ripped from the earth. It toppled slowly and then crashed to the ground, shattering into several chunks. The army of voids turned onto the path and marched on, straight towards the temple. Will clenched his jaw. We've got to get ahead of them, he whispered to Rhea. Maji's in the temple, I'm sure. We've got to get there first. Rhea nodded. We'll have to go around through the trees and hope they don't spot us, she replied. Okay, let's go. Will, Rhea, and Invisible Sam ran through the trees as fast and as quietly as they could, dashing from tree to tree. Soon they were alongside the voids, who plodded on robotically toward Tusk Temple, unaware of the children and the giraffe in the trees. The friends moved ahead, but 20 meters from the temple steps, the trees came to an end. Will and Rhea hid behind the last one. How are we going to get inside without them seeing us? Panted Rhea. Will was looking back over his shoulder at the column of voids, wondering the same thing. The void army had halted again. 2 of the voids were hosing another tusk with sticky tar. The other voids were all watching. They're distracted, said Will. Go now! Will and Rhea charged across the clear ground and bounded up the steps. One of the towering wooden doors was open, and they dashed for cover inside. Invisible Sam followed, but as he tried to climb the steps, his hooves got in a tangle. Oh no, he exclaimed. Sam tried to keep his balance, but toppled over and landed in a heap. Oof, he said. There was a bright flash, and the young giraffe reappeared as clear as day on the temple steps. Clicker, clacker, clicker, clacker. Will was at the doorway, watching in dismay. Get up, you clumsy giraffe! Get in! He urged his friend. Sam clambered to his feet and skittered through the doorway, which was so tall even he didn't need to duck. Will looked back down the path. Hundreds of throbbing red eyes were glaring at him. There was a moment of stillness, and then the void army charged towards him. Will stumbled backwards. Close the door, he called out. Close the door. Will, Rhea, and Sam threw themselves against the huge temple door, but it was so heavy it barely moved an inch. Come on, Will bellowed. It's no good, said Rhea, breathing hard. Will whirled away and stuck his hand in his coat pocket. Maybe this will work, he said. Step back, you two. Will pulled out his torch, aimed, and pressed the switch. The entrance chamber to the temple was lit up by the brilliant beam. Will concentrated as hard as he could, focusing on pushing the heavy door on its hefty hinges. Clicker, clacker. The sound of the approaching void army was so loud that the temple floor was trembling. Will's hand and arm ached as he struggled to control the shaking torch and its beam. Slowly, the temple door began to swing closed. Rhea was staring through the gap, her eyes wide with fear. "Hurry, Will, they're here!" she shouted above the din. Beams of crimson light shot in through the narrowing doorway, and they all heard the scraping of sharp metal feet on the stone steps. Will grunted with effort as he clung on to the bucking torch. The giant door closed with a loud thud that echoed inside the temple. Will shut off the torch. For a second there was silence. Thump, 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 thump. The door shuddered as void after void threw themselves against the outside. Will, Rhea, and Sam stepped back slowly. Will watched the juddering doors warily. Despite the void's violent efforts to smash through, the sturdy doors seemed to be holding. "I think we're safe," he said. As he spoke, the doors shook again, and a stream of dust and grit trickled from the ceiling. Rhea looked at Will in alarm. "Well, safe for now," he added. "Let's get further into the temple." That's it for tonight. Have a good one.